All right, we are rolling. So the theme for tonight, because it is Thanksgiving Eve, if that's a thing.
Why not?
Right? So the theme for tonight is what you will be drinking on Thanksgiving. So for my first pour, I'm going to start with a wild turkey. Non-chill filtered, rare breed, export only. Because I'm not joking when I say this is one of the best whiskeys I've ever had.
So how's it compared to regular rare breed?
I need to do a side by side because I just there's a viewer. He's not online. He's stationed in Japan, and he sends me wild turkey stuff from time to time because he can just go to the store and get it. And I guess he probably has access on the base on the PX or whatever. So he sent me a wild turkey 12-year, wild turkey 8-year. He sent me 2 wild turkey 8 years. I gave one to Wes. He sent me the rare breed that's non-chill filtered and one other bottle. And of course, when I get them, I open them all up and taste them. And this rare breed, I was like, I don't know if I'm having a good palate day or what, but it's pretty epic.
Do you say you can find it on military bases or PX?
Yeah, I don't know how available they are there. They were originally released to be duty free shops.
Okay.
But a lot of duty free only spill over into military bases for whatever reason.
I'll keep my eyes peeled. I have a connection that's always shopping there for me. He goes about twice a month and scans the shelves. So
yeah, Josh Brace has a hookup at one of the PX locations, and he got that Jack Daniel's Oloroso Sherry Finish Rye.
That's where I pick up.
Not the cash strength, but the lower proof one.
But the new blue bottle that's out, the blue label.
Yeah, it's like blue and
it's
maroon.
A single malt Oloroso finished. I picked up 2 from my connection, so I'm hoping to crack it soon.
Yeah, and then he gave me last year for my birthday. He gave me the Jack Daniel's bottled and bond. That's only available at PX, which they've got the bonded now, which theoretically is the same product, but they're technically different SKUs. So I don't know if they have a different barrel selection process. Also, I will be having for Thanksgiving Whistle Pig Piggyback Alfa Romeo.
It's almost gone.
We have 2 or 3 more bottles downstairs.
Okay.
This is Lindsay's bottle, so she crushed it. She started making cocktails. She made a margarita with this, and it was phenomenal because there's so much citrus in it. It went well in the margarita. I also typically hit some High West, so I'll be trying some Mineral Nights Ram, and I still have a bit of Yippee-Ki-Yay.
Say hi.
Hey,
my lovely wife.
What act is that, Randy?
This is 9.3. I've got a couple different ones. You can come in, pups. But the Yippee-Ki-Yay, obviously, they don't make anymore. And no Thanksgiving dessert portion would be complete without Angel's Envy Rye. So that is my lineup for Thanksgiving. What's everyone doing tomorrow?
Hopefully a lot of nothing. Plan on
same thing here in Virginia.
Yeah.
Is anyone responsible for cooking?
No, not us here. We're going to my brother's house. We're making the famous grouse stuffing. We gotta make that and take it, but he's making everything else, thankfully.
Okay.
In our house, it's just me and my husband, so I do the cooking for that. but it's
So-
going to be a low key kickback day tomorrow.
Mm.
So, ooh. What
This
is
That's
that?
good.
breakfast beer.
The
which is
breakfast beer.
It's a breakfast beer. It's a 2020 Bourbon County Stout, aged with coffee and maple syrup.
Oh my!
Oh,
I actually forgot. I found a box from our move that had about 2.5 dozen bottles of Bourbon County Stout in it. So I need to start working my way through that. But I'm going to be drinking the Iron Root that Chris sent me, and
Awesome.
also some Midwinter Night's Dram. I have a 6, an X6, a 9, and now a few bottles of the 11.
nice.
Yeah.
I've heard good stuff about the 11.
It is by far and away, other than probably some of the early acts. Act 11 is the best I've had in probably since Act 6, honestly.
I have 2 other acts of it that are a lot older, but I don't know which ones they are. And I'm not tall enough to reach them without a step stool. So
Well,
we're just going to leave those up there for now.
James is awful quiet. I do recognize that that backdrop behind him. That
absolutely.
brings back some great memories
Oh,
from our trip to
absolutely.
Houston.
I came really close to calling you to stay at your house for the Houston Whiskey Social. And Lindsay was like, no, let's just get an Airbnb. And I was like, but he's got such a big house and there's so much good whiskey in it. But alas, she went out and we rented an Airbnb. So
Well, you should have called. You guys are always welcome. We should definitely do another bottle share before too long.
yeah, I don't know if we'll make the Prideful Goat selection like an annual thing. I think we should, because we have so much control at the distillery. We can do really cool stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I think that makes it a little bit more fun.
Well, speaking of
So-
that night, a lot of the leftover bottles from that bottle share, I put into an infinity barrel. And so that's what I'm starting with. Brings
Oh,
back lots of good
nice.
memories of sharing bottles with lots of friends. So that's what I've started with tonight.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
You say a
How is it?
barrel? A barrel.
Well, it's a small barrel. It's a 20 liter. So it was big enough to put a lot of bottles in, but it's not a full size barrel, of course.
Nice.
How's it taste?
It's actually pretty good. Randy always says blend them together at the end, and that's usually the best. It turned out pretty good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
so we did an infinity bottle video. Chris happened to be here when we filmed it, but I had this idea, like, you know, so many people are so, like, I don't know, down in the mouth about infinity bottles, and I was like, my infinity bottle's epic, like it's world class. It's, you know, it will compete against any level of bourbon. And I was like, well, let's prove it. And so we did a podcast called you know, something like Infinity Bottle Destroys Van Winkles and BTAX in a Blind. And so I put the Infinity Bottle against the Van Winkle 10-year Lot B and the Eagle Rare 17 and George T. Stagg. And it finished about the way that I thought that it would. George T. Stagg was the winner. The Infinity Bottle came in second for me and third for the other two tasters. And Eagle Rare 17 and Lot B probably did the worst on average. Wouldn't you say, Chris?
Lot B was definitely it was last place for all of us, if I recall.
Yeah.
The Eagle Rare 17 actually was my number 2 choice. So
Oh, okay.
It finished third or fourth for the other taster. So
Yeah, those two were fourth and fifth for me.
okay.
which didn't surprise me
Yeah.
because they're too OP and too
You
light.
talk about being in the right place at the right time.
He
And we
called
had
and
a
he was
great
like,
time though.
I need to pick up a bottle from your house. And I was like, we're filming. Can you be on camera? So we just made it happen.
I'm
So-
assuming Wes is working out all the editing and that'll air soon.
Yeah. So the first video. So let me see if I can pull the list up of what all we recorded, because there were some cool ones. Here we go.
The new commercial was epic.
I'm about to show everybody. It's been edited.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I can share my screen and play it. Yeah, I think I can.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So let me see. How do I share my screen?
Is everybody familiar with the issues that Randy went with the Glencairn glass versus his new glasses?
Yep.
So, yeah, this
We
was
are.
a fun commercial that kind of poked a little fun.
If you can't laugh about these things, what can you laugh about, right?
Right.
It's like we recently we had gotten some of the glasses and we took some out to our son because he didn't have them. And then we ordered a new case and Lindsay fixed what I thought was my screw up. I ordered the one for the small glasses, but we had the big glasses. So we just ordered small glasses to put in the small one and ordered a new case for the big one.
There you go. Hold on. Oh no. All right. I'm gonna.
We lost him.
We lost him. He's gone.
Left the meeting.
When he kicks himself out, we've got a problem.
Yeah, if y'all are ever in town, just give him a call and drop by. Most of the time he's doing some sort of recording, and I've been over. I don't live too far from him, so I pop in and say hi. We've been friends for 30 years, so I just pop in, and sometimes we'll do a quick Patreon video, and it's a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
I can only imagine.
You're on mute, Randy.
No, we can't hear.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Randy.
Mute. Okay, I think I got it now.
Yeah.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. See if it'll let me do it.
You would think so, being a Google Meet format.
Yeah, I'm not always the best at technology. Yeah, let's do entire screen. Share. All right, can y'all see?
It's loading.
All right, y'all can see, right?
Oh, yep.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Got it.
All right, can y'all see the commercial?
Yes.
Are you blindfolded in it?
Yeah, he is.
What are you doing? Oh, I'm testing my new whiskey glass that I had designed. Why? Well, there's a company out there that's a real Karen, and she threatened to sue us. Really? Yes. Yeah. So we had been producing some traditional tulip-shaped whiskey glasses. Oh yes. We never used the name. Right. Of course. But they claimed to own the shape of the glass.
Mhm.
And since I'm just a little guy, I couldn't fight.
Right.
But do you know what that motivated us to do, Wes?
What?
To go out and design a glass that was actually made for high proof American spirits. So the company that had the problem with us, their glass was originally designed for low proof Scotch whiskey.
Oh, okay.
80, 86 proof, that type of thing. And you know what I had noticed? Every time I would nose a really high proof, high quality spirit in the United States out of this glass, all I got was ethanol burn.
Yeah, a little burn there. I felt that.
And so we went out and we designed this glass that's actually designed for those higher proof spirits. And I'm so confident in this glass that if anybody were to go to our website and buy one, I'm offering a money back guarantee.
Wow.
If you get that glass to your house and you find yourself one of these traditional tulip shaped glasses and you nose a high proof spirit side by side and you can't tell the difference, I will gladly give you your money back.
So what you're saying is they can really stick it to the Karen and support the little guy by going to bourbonrealtalk.com and ordering one of these with absolutely no risk. They can get their money back if they don't prefer it nosing it to the other.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if you love small business and you like sticking it to Karen's, that's the way to go.
Stick it to Karen. bourbonrealtalk.com.
Cheers.
Well, that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Nice. That's awesome.
I love it.
Let's see. Stop. Yeah.
And what
So
was funny is that was totally off the hip, wasn't it?
off the hip, no script, one take.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
They
Wow.
looked at me afterwards and said, "What do you think?" I said, "Nailed it."
You're like, done. Yeah. We're also doing a new intro for the podcast that I was going to show you guys. I know the video quality is like terrible when I do the screen share thing, so I'm not sure how good this one's going to be. But I had been looking at some of the other bigger channels, and they had a different style of intro where it was like all of these flashes with like exciting music of like different things the podcast has done. We're not done with it, but you can kind of get the idea what it's going to be. So I'm going to try and show that to you all. Let's see, entire screen, share. So we're working on that.
That looks cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Definitely updated.
Yeah, it's nice to freshen it up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I want to get some clips in there with Freddie Johnson, because that's cool. I wanted to do the Brothers Bond guys, but that video quality was too bad to go into the intro, because I don't know if I told y'all, but I was dealing with so they have a regular publicist that represents them all the time, but sometimes these brands, when they're doing like a launch, they hire a second marketing company. And so when you're dealing with them, your initial point of contact is the marketing company, and the marketing's point of contact is the publicist, and the publicist deals directly with the talent. And so there's like this daisy chain of communication where everything gets lost in translation. And I had requested that they film in studio at their location, and I was filming in studio at my location. And I was going to send both raw video pieces to Wes, and he was going to cut back and forth between the two studios so that the quality was always good and the sound was always good. And that information did not make it through the daisy chain. And so when we get on and they're like, yeah, we're just going to record on Zoom, I'm like, guys, like, this is probably not the best way to do it. And like, well, how would you have done it? And I was like, well, you just record there and I record here, and we use Zoom just so that we can make the communication flow. But the editor doesn't use the Zoom. They just put the two pieces together. And they're like, oh, we totally could have done that if someone would have told us. And I'm looking at the publicist, like, because she was on the little, and I'm looking at her, I'm like, you know what you did. You know. And that was one of the worst viewed videos I've ever released. And it had like the biggest celebrities I've ever had on the podcast before. But
Wow.
they do so much online media that it's like completely, what's the point? Like everybody who wants to see that type of stuff that follows them knows not to watch the whiskey one because it's not the content that they want. But so yeah, I have all kinds of cool stories for you guys. James, I didn't see you at the social. Did you not go?
No, I dropped by your booth, but just for a second. I did the BTAC tasting, and then we did the barrel class, the barrel blending class, and then you guys were set up right outside that barrel class. We swung by. We talked to Lindsay for a second, but by that point, I'd had a bunch of drinks, so I was moving on out.
Yeah, I was outside with EMS and Houston PD, dealing with a couple that was so drunk they had gone nonverbal.
No way.
Or occasionally, the guy could mumble, "I'll fucking kill you." But the wife was unable to speak, but she was able to realize that she was vulnerable. And she was able to process that she was dealing with all men. And she became very combative because she didn't want anyone to touch or help her. But she was also unable to access her motor function. So when it came time to get up to get into the Uber, she was unable to get off the ground, and we offered help. And she got agitated. And then we offered, Christopher tells the story a little differently than I remember it. But the husband's now in the Uber, the wife's still laying on the ground. And God bless this Uber driver who's like willing to take them, right? Because he was the third driver, the first two drove off. And we're like, do you want to go home? And she's like, uh-huh. And we're like, you want to be with your husband? And she said, uh-huh. We're like, well, your husband's right there in the car, but you can't get up. Do you want us to help you to get into the car? And she's like, uh-uh. And Christopher's like, do you want me to go get a woman and maybe a woman can help you? And the way he tells it, I was like, listen, you have two choices. You can either let us help you get up and get into that Uber, or you can get into a cop car. I don't care which one you pick. Do you want to go to jail, or do you want to go get in the Uber with your husband? Which I do that. I do that when I'm at these events. If somebody gets that drunk, I do just lay it out flat for them, right? I don't remember doing it at that point. I did do it to that same couple later once the police and EMS showed up. Which was quite honestly the funnest part of my night. Like I love going to the Houston Whiskey Social. It's so much fun. And you got to keep in mind, there were 1,500 people there that had unlimited drink tickets for something like 200 vendor tables. Every one of them has, 3 to 10 SKUs for you to try. It's definitely enough to kill all 1,500 people for sure. Right. So the fact that we had a drunk couple, one old man that fell down and busted his eye open, and 3 early 30s dudes that were throwing up, those are good numbers. You know what I mean? Like statistically, if you look at the numbers, you're talking less.
It's not even 1%.
It's less than
No.
It's like 1/10 of 1%, right? You're talking 1, 2, 3. You had six people out of 1,500. So what is that? 0.3 of 1%? It's not much, right? So I don't want to make it sound like this, like a crazy dangerous event or anything like that. But that's my role when I go to the event. I do crowd control. So in the beginning, my entire job is to get all the sober people in the appropriate line for their tickets, because there's 4 different tickets. There's the people that have tickets at 4:00 for the BTAC tasting. 4 o'clock for the Pappy Van Winkle tasting, 5 o'clock VIPs, and 6 o'clock general admissions. And they all show up and try to get in the same line, which means that you've got VIPs and general admissions that are blocking the line for people who are about to miss their tasting. So I have to go through and I have to check everyone's tickets and figure out who goes where, right? And I like doing it. I put my lanyard on, I got my whiskey glass, I just walk the line. I'm yelling, everyone VIP, any general admission, any Pappy tickets, any BTAC ticket holders. And then people say, I'm BTAC. And I'm like, come with me. Let's go. We got to get you in your tasting. You're late. And, but then at some point in the night, it transitions. And my job is to deal with the people who drank too much. And I have to get them home safely, is my objective. And so this couple, we finally get in the third Uber that came to pick them up. They made it out of the parking lot. When the husband threw up on his chest, he had opened up his button-up shirt, and I guess he was hot or something, and he had just he didn't oh no, I'm going to throw up and bend over and throw up on the floor. He just stayed in the position he was in and just threw up there. So it's all over, right? And the wife, she was just trying to get some comfort from the guy that's supposed to take care of her. So she laid down in the vomit. And so the Uber driver comes back to the place and is like, I want to talk to that guy that helped him get in the car. And so Christopher goes out there and he's like, what are you doing here, bro? They're your problem now. Get out here. And he's like, this dude threw up. I didn't sign up for this. And Christopher's like, okay, let me call some help for them. So Christopher calls 911. And he's like, you can't wait here, Uber drivers. The other here, follow me. Let's find a better place for you to wait. And Christopher got him off the property, right? So then I get called out there on the walkie-talkie, and I go out there, and Christopher's like, you good? You got this? And I'm like, okay, well, now I'm standing outside the venue. I've been drinking. I have a glass of whiskey hanging from a lanyard on my neck, and I'm standing there with three Houston police officers and about 5 EMS from the fire department, including the captain, who was having none of it. He was not interested in what was going on at all. So he walks up to this dude that's sitting in the car and the door's open and he's like, sir, and he starts poking him with his flashlight. And the guy goes, fuck you. The captain goes, fuck me? Fuck me? Oh. He's like, how about fuck you? And I was like, oh, this is going to be good. I don't know what happened. And so I'm standing around and I'm like, what do we do? Right? What do we do at this point? Because he's not getting out of the car, And the one of the paramedics is like, okay, so I know you want us to take him to the hospital, but we can't. And I'm like, why the fuck not? He's practically nonverbal. And he goes, yeah, but he's still responding to questions. So it's not like this is life. He's just drunk. So we can't take him to the hospital unless he asks to go. And I was like, but the Uber driver doesn't want him and you don't want him. How, can you arrest him? And he's like, well, if he gets out of the car and he's drunk in public, and he'll be arrested for that. And if the Uber driver tells him to get out of the car and he doesn't, he'll be arrested for trespassing. I was like, oh, so if he doesn't go to the hospital, he goes to jail. And they were like, pretty much. But you could watch because it was the captain from the fire department that was there. And then the HPD guy, the two of them were like, no, you take it. No, you take it. Neither one of them wanted him. And
welcome to my world, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so they end up, dude, this is so funny. I'm sitting here like a kid in a candy store. I don't even know what's going to happen. And meanwhile, the drunk girl is trying to close the door so the cop can't talk to her husband anymore. In her drunken state of mind, she's like, if I just close this door, all these problems go away. Right. And so I said, well, can I talk to him? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. Like, what difference does it make? So I go in there and I'm like, hey, listen, you guys are not doing good. You drank too much. Okay. And you're not doing well. And you threw up in the Uber driver's car and he didn't want you in here anymore. If you get out of the car, you're going to jail for drunk in public. And if you don't get out of the car, you're going to jail for trespassing. But you can go to the hospital if you tell this paramedic that that's where you want to go. Do you want to go to jail or do you want to go to the hospital? And the guy's like, all of a sudden he starts to sober up. He's like, I don't want to go to jail. And I was like, well, then it sounds like you want to go to the hospital. And he wouldn't say he wanted to go to the hospital. And then one of the EMS guys comes like running over from the sidewalk because the Uber driver had been sitting over there on the sidewalk. And he was like all excited. He's like, this is the greatest Uber driver of all time. And everyone's like, why? And he's like, he agreed to take them to their hotel room. And everybody's like, back up, let's get out of here. and so one of the EMS workers, because he had canceled the drive, so the Uber driver didn't know what the address was of where he was supposed to take them. And so they had to reorder, but everybody was leaving at this point. And so as soon as you would submit an Uber request, another Uber driver who was waiting in the area would pick it up. And so at one point, there was a paramedic that had the drunk guy's phone, which was covered in vomit. So he goes to the middle of the street with the phone in his hand and starts like slinging the vomit off of it. So it doesn't have vomit on it. Wearing gloves, but I just found the whole thing like completely, and everyone's laughing, like all the paramedics are laughing, like, you guys sling the vomit, you know. And then he's got the Uber driver's phone in his other clean hand, and he's like, submit. Oh, I miss it. Cancel. Submit. And then finally he submits. It pops up on the Uber driver's phone. He accepts it, and he's like, are you Victor? And he's like, yeah, I'm Victor. And he's like, okay, we're gone. Everyone get out of here. It was so fascinating. But we got those people home safely because the Uber driver's like the greatest of all time, apparently. But that was my little Houston Whiskey social adventure. Also, who here is a fan of Outlander or Lord of the Rings?
I like them.
All right.
I like Lord of the Rings. I've never seen Outlander.
Okay. Do you know who Graham McTavish is?
Yes.
Okay. Graham McTavish is a Scottish actor. He played Jamie's uncle in Outlander, but he was in Lord of the Rings. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Well, he just launched a bourbon brand, and he came to the Houston Whiskey Social. So Friday night, Christopher knows that Lindsay loves Outlander, and he knows that she's a little bit of a celebrophile, and she loves hanging out with celebrities. So he's like, hey, listen, we might be going to dinner with Graham McTavish, but don't tell Lindsay because I don't want to get her hopes up and then disappoint her. Like, I don't want to tell her until it's confirmed. I'm like, okay. So he never says whether or not it's confirmed. So Lindsay and I are driving up there, and she's like, what are we doing tonight? And I was like, we're going to dinner with Graham McTavish. And she's like, what? Why didn't you tell me? Like, I don't have the clothes for this. I didn't pack the right makeup. I didn't, like she's totally freaking out. And
That's totally a woman's response.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, I told you. Like, I told you that it might happen. I said, but it wasn't confirmed. And she goes, I don't remember that. And I was like, well, we were hanging out with our friends and you were drinking. So I don't know if that had something to do with it or if you glazed over, but I did tell you. And so we end up going to this really swanky restaurant, like super swanky. And we get put in the private room that's like one wall is like their wine collection. And they've got, verticals of first growth Bordeaux's and, Domaine Romani Conti and Chateau de Kim. They've got like all the cool, expensive wines, right? And so Graham McTavish shows up an hour late, as celebrities do. It was like the weirdest environment because there were 12 people there. And I had no idea how to make the connections of why some of the people were there, right? Like there's this girl. She was pretty, okay, but she was dressed in like a Def Leppard t-shirt or something at that level. And when you went up to greet her, you could smell that she had some body odor, right? I'm wearing like my dress boots, pants, button up, blazer, you know, everyone else is kind of at that level. And she's like sweats in a t-shirt and smelling bad, right? And I'm like, how are you here? Like, why is this chick here? And then there's another two girls that are like best friends. And I figured out one of them was invited because she has a TV show and she was trying to film something while she was in town for the social. And I thought she was filming with Graham, but it turned out she wasn't. She was filming her friend taking one of the whiskey song classes or something like that. And so they start ordering all this super weird food. They ordered something called bread something that was made out of lamb brain or something.
Oh.
Yeah, actually delicious. I ate everything.
Hey, life's too short to eat that crap.
No, it was great. But like Scottish people eat. I mean, they eat haggis and stuff, right?
Well,
so, like,
yeah, haggis. I can get on board with that because it's barley and spices and other meats. It's just cooked inside the stomach.
Right. But when Graham found out that they had this, whatever this thing was, it was called something that sounded like a dessert, like bread pudding, but it wasn't bread pudding.
Blood pudding?
Blood pudding?
No, it wasn't blood. It actually turned out to be pancreas. But they had like fried octopus and beef carpaccio that was raw and, you know, all this stuff. And so Lindsay's like leaning over to me. It's winter. So in winter, real estate's not the best. And it turns out that as inflation goes up, people cancel their Patreon memberships, right? So Lindsay's like leaning over to me and she's like, hey, we need to be on our own tab because this place is expensive and people are just ordering stuff left and right. And I don't want to end up in a split situation. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, I'm sorry, baby, but when you get to the end zone, you got to act like you've been there before, right? Like we're here and it's going to be what it's going to be, right? We'll figure it out later, but I'm not going to stand up in front of this celebrity that you love and these other people that I don't know and embarrass my friend, Christopher, and be like, hey, I can't afford this. So I'm going to be on my own. You know what I mean? Like, we're just going to have to see what happens. So we get down to the end and Christopher's like, hey, I want to say thank y'all for coming down and working. We're going to pick up y'all's tab. And we're like, oh, thank you so much. That's so nice. And the next day he comes up to me and he goes, because Graham started ordering like bottles of wine and stuff for the table. And he's like, do you know how much that dinner was? And I was like, I don't want to be a jerk, but I looked over when you were signing and I think it was $2,200. And he was like, yeah, we split it.
Oh.
It was $4,500.
Good.
Oh.
And Graham ordered 3 $500 bottles of wine.
I was going to say
So
the wine. and the
$1,500 of it was just the wine.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I mean, the food was expensive, but then at the end they bring out like this cart that's got all of these like really old ports and things on it for your dessert drink. And everyone's like, oh yeah, I'll try that, 1940 whatever port. And Christopher's like, I thought it'd be around like $50, $60. It was like $280 per pour, and 3 people ordered that, and it was nuts.
Hey,
It was so
that's why this
um,
stuff right here, you get more bang for your buck.
mhm.
A $7.50 bottle of this will last a long time.
But yeah, we had a good old time. That's pretty much the extent of the Houston social. I met a bunch of people. Did y'all lose me for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, split second.
All right. But yeah, so James, what was your experience? You were there.
It was an amazing experience. The BTAC tasting was really nice. Immediately went from there to the Michter's table. Got to try the Michter's 10-year bourbon, the 23 edition. That was phenomenal. The surprise of the night for me was the Iron Root Ambarana. I thought that was surprisingly phenomenal. but lots and lots of really good pours that night. I love Barrel. That's one of my favorite brands. So the blending class was just perfect. You know, Seagrass is probably my #1 favorite. So Seagrass Gold, Gray, just a phenomenal night. We left pretty quick though. I mean, we were out by, I don't know, 7:30. So before all that craziness started, we left and went and got food.
Yeah, it was after 8 when things went crazy. There was a older gentleman that fell down in the lobby, and he split his eye open. It stopped bleeding pretty quick, but not before it made a spectacle. And then at the end of the night, like after everybody had left, there were 5 guys, but 3 of them were like throw up drunk, and the other 2 were like the responsible ones. And they were waiting for, like, one of them was waiting for their wife to come get them, and the other was waiting for an Uber. And they were all huddled around one of those cardboard box trash cans that, like,
oh man.
And they all were in chairs, like taking turns throwing up in the trash can. And I started drinking on Saturday morning, probably by 10 a.m. Right? Because you're there and you're working, and somebody's like, "Oh, I just opened up this bottle of 1967 Fleshmans. Like, do you want to try it? I've got that, you know," because in the green room they've got all of the epic, you know, old bottle pours and all that stuff, and you have full access to it when you're one of the workers. So, you know, I was taking little sips all day. I get to the end of the night, and there's these people who are like so drunk they're only qualified to lay on the ground and breathe, and I'm like, how'd this happen to you? It's not like I didn't drink all day. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, there should have been like some warning signs in your mind that were like, maybe I should slow down. Maybe, you know, the only thing that made me nervous is when I was with the cops and that couple were that drunk that one of the cops said, "Who served them this much alcohol?" I was like, "Whoa, buddy." I'm like, there's 200 tables in there with probably 400 people, and they're all licensed. I said, but sometimes they just drink so fast that they get enough in their stomach that, you know, by the time it all hits them, you know, they weren't displaying how drunk they were when they were getting the pour, but it all hits them all at once. I said, I don't think anybody served these people when they were at this level of inebriation. But it was a good time. Lindsay loved it. We had fun. We always have fun. We had to go to the storage unit and pick everything up for the event, and then no one was available on Sunday. It was me, Christopher, and Lindsay, and one other guy, and everything for the event we had to put it back in the storage unit. It was fun. And then we went to Snooze to have brunch, and we love Snooze. And it was like 9:30, and we ordered mimosas, and they were like, "You can't order drinks until 10." And I'm looking at Lindsay, and I'm like, how is it that we didn't realize that? And it's like, oh, we've never gotten up early enough on Sunday to make it to brunch by 10. Never. Like, that's never happened before. So anyway, those are my stories from Houston Whiskey Social. But it was a good time. I hope that it becomes a destination event like Tales of the Cocktail and, you know, stuff like that, because it's done well enough, and there's enough cool stuff going on. Like, it's pretty dope.
Well, next year we definitely need to plan a bottle share. Everybody should come and stop off here before we go.
Make a Friday night thing.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because when we do stuff on Friday night, it's pretty like low key. We usually finish early enough in the day that if we wanted to go do something in the evening, it's no big deal. I will tell you, the glasses that you tasted out of for your BTAC tasting, I was responsible for washing all of those glasses in 2022. I ran the washing team last year. I washed 6,500 glasses last year at Houston Whiskey Social. Yes.
Holy moly.
And there's this commercial dishwashing machine, and I mean, you can run them through 50 at a time, but you do the math, it's 50 per rinse cycle, and I did 6,500. That's how many times I ran that over Friday and Saturday. it was just nonstop, over and over and over again. And I had a team of like 5 people that were supposed to help me dry the glasses. Well, by the end of the night, on Saturday night in 2022, we had drenched all of the lint-free rags that we were using to dry the glasses. And so the glasses were streaked. They had like water spots on them. And so the glasses that you tasted out of, James, I had to have a team of people go through with Bourbon Real Talk lint-free rags and polish all of those glasses. And it took a lot longer to polish the spots off than it did to set the tasting mats up. And so we're all standing there for what seemed like the longest part of the day on Friday, polishing all these glasses. And I don't know if you can see it on camera. I've got a little hole in the palm of my hand.
No
right
way.
there. It's a Capita.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was polishing one of the glasses and the sim broke. But I was pushing when I was I was pushing and twisting, and I just jammed the broken stem into my hand. And there was like a bunch of people standing around, and I was like, and I threw them into the glass, and it shattered all over the floor. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And then it was like barely bleeding. So it made it even more embarrassing that I had like this big reaction, and I shattered the base of the glass for no reason. And they were like, "Do you need a Band-Aid?" And I'm like, "Actually, probably not." That reaction was totally unwarranted. But we had a good time making sure that everything looked nice for you guys. So, all right. So that's enough about the Houston Whiskey Social. Let me tell you about the episodes that are coming up. We've got on Friday, top 5 low proof bourbons you should have on your bar. And the top 5 are 1792 small batch, Bullet small batch, Buffalo Trace, Elijah Craig small batch, and Four Roses small batch.
Yeah.
So those are the 5. And we're going to do a giveaway of 5 1-ounce sample packs from those pours. We also recorded the world's most dangerous whiskey. And that one's a little bit of a clickbait title. But recently there was, because alcohol is illegal in Iran, there was somebody who was bootlegging, and they made some bad spirits, and 17 people died and dozens were hospitalized. And then the Iranian government figured out who did it, and they executed 4 people for it.
Oh my God.
And so I thought that was pretty significant, because right now you've got the World Health Organization and one of the doctor groups that advises the Canadian government are all pushing for stiffer regulations on alcohol to reduce, and I quote, the physical availability of alcohol. So there's kind of a new like prohibition movement. And so I used this news story to kind of, talk about how unsafe it is to try and enforce prohibition, because people are going to drink anyway. And it's probably better to regulate it than it is to try to make it illegal. So that one's interesting. And then we did the Infinity bottle that I told you guys about. And then we did our Japanese whiskey worth their sky high prices. And Chris got to participate in that one. And so we tasted Yamazaki 12.
Hukushu 12.
And the Shin 15 year.
Yeah.
And you just talked about their prices and whether or not we felt like the quality price ratio was there. So that's coming. And then one of the members gave me the idea for why you can't find the whiskey you want in your state. Because somebody is asking, like, I don't understand why I'm seeing all these people get it, but I can't find it anywhere in my state. And so I talked about the distribution problems that can make the distribution of a highly desirable product like uneven based on population, and that can make it hard to find in your area. And then we recorded one called Whiskey Flippers Are the Worst, where we just basically talk shit about people who only buy rare bottles to make profit and not because of their passion for whiskey. So yeah, James is not on Facebook.
What the hell? How can he be in Bourbon Real Pack without being on Facebook? What the hell?
So
He's not.
So let me tell you the story. This is a crazy story. So I joined Facebook to get on Bourbon Real Talk. That's the only reason I joined Facebook.
Okay.
And when I joined, because I didn't know how Facebook worked, I joined with a pseudonym. So I have a nickname called El Toro, the Bull. And so I joined as El Toro. And within about 24 hours, I was banned on Facebook. And then trying to join Bourbon Real Talk, they don't allow me to join the group. And so I've been unable to join the actual group Bourbon Real Talk because I got banned on Facebook. So it's a funny story, but it's because I didn't understand that I couldn't join under a pseudonym, that you have to join under your actual name.
You just have to tell me.
So I gotta send you an email or something and explain.
Yeah,
it.
just shoot me an email with what your Facebook profile is. I'll add you as a friend, and then I'll invite you to the group, and you'll automatically be approved. But we have this sometimes because we have some judges and some like district attorneys and sometimes law enforcement officers can't use their own name online. And for those people who want to create a pseudonym, when they apply, their brand new profile looks like a scammer profile, right? Even if there's pictures of them, because scammers will go to a real profile, download the photos, and then re-upload them as the profile picture for a new profile. And then we let them in the group, and 2 seconds later, they're PMing people about buying bottles that they don't actually have, right? And so when the account is blank and we can tell it's new and we can tell that it's not the real person, it's kind of become our policy to block and ban that person so that we don't have to deal with them in the future. But if it turns out to be a legitimate account and the person just lets us know, then we will, kind of force them in. And so I'll do that for you.
An example.
Well, thanks for fixing that.
Yeah, then we can share some information because I'd like to talk to you about the Iron Root. You seem to enjoy that at Whiskey Social, so I might be able to help you out.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I was first in line at the drop, so.
You were first? What time did you get there?
Much to my wife's chagrin, we were there at 5:30 in the morning.
Man, I would have thought to be first, you would have had to get there at like midnight. That's crazy. That's
no,
good.
we were there by ourselves for 2 hours.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I thought maybe called in a 911 call, Chris, and like had to respond to the distillery.
Oh, that's a little far out of my district. I don't know that I can pull that one off, but no, we were there early, and then it turns out that the only benefit you had to be early was they gave away some free Iron Root swag to the first 50 people. That pretty much everybody there
already had it.
Yeah, they had enough to cover the crowd for sure. But one of the I forget who it was. Somebody came out and said, "Hey, are y'all here? Does anybody here have pre-orders?" And I said, "No, but I don't think any of us are pre-orders." He said, "Well, then how about I go ahead and take your order, and then we can start pulling stuff so that when you come to pay for your order, we can just give you your box or whatever." And so I wound up buying a case while I was there. And I got 2 bottles completely signed by Robert and Jonathan Licorice, and then Marcia and her husband John. So I have all 4 of the Licorice signatures on 2 bottles, one of which I gifted to somebody who's currently serving overseas.
Nice.
So,
Casey?
Yeah.
Nice. When does he get back?
he got extended indefinitely due to the whole Israel deal. And then right now, Syria has become a problem child. So I know of a lot of other people that are in the reserves that are being mobilized, and they're either going to Syria or Germany. So I've got a few connections in the military, so I keep up with where people are going and what's going on. And there's some thought that Casey may come home in December sometime. I text with him and talk to him about every couple of weeks, if not sooner. But he's in good spirits, and he's enough away from the action, so to speak. But he loads bombs and missiles on planes, so he's staying busy.
Wait.
But James, I was pleasantly surprised at that bottle, and so it kind of warmed my heart to hear that you really, really enjoyed it, and that was your kind of surprise bottle at the social. It's a
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a fantastic pour, and I traded with Colorado Bourbon Guy, so it's phenomenal.
We've got a Amberana finish Doc Swinson dropping on Saturday.
I'll be there.
And also a Buffalo Trace single barrel that's almost 9 years old.
Yeah, I won. Apparently, I was a TC this month in Someone Say Whiskey, so I got a text from Alex today, so I've secured a bottle of that as well.
I'm pretty excited about that. I'm gonna buy some extras so
Ooh.
I can do some more giveaways.
That fiddler.
This just arrived today.
Really?
It took a little longer than I would have thought to get here.
They're behind. They've been out of stock of the Prideful Goat for like 2 months, maybe 3. And I have a business policy that if we're having business communication, I'll send a request to you and I'll give you 5 days. And then if you don't respond, I give you 3 days after I give you the reminder. And then if you don't respond, I give you 2 days. And then after that, I bother you every day until you respond. And we got to the I'm bothering you every day with Sealbach. And Blake finally emailed me and he's like, we're busy with Christmas, but we'll get you a PO in mid-December. And I'm like, yes, but what about the fact that I originally asked for this 2 months ago? Like, I need my product in stock. Like, we're doing online advertising and there's no place for people to go buy this product, right? If we don't have distribution in the state. So yeah, they're slammed right now. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
And their delivery on the end is just as bad. It usually takes me bugging them 2 or 3 times for them to actually ship the product.
That being said, if anybody's looking for bottles that you may not have in your area, I'm happy to purchase and ship to you. And I've done that for several people because of what you're talking about right now. It's taken 6 weeks, 10 weeks to get a bottle that you purchase, and it kind of sucks.
Chris, I may take you up on that because Bourbon Outfitters doesn't ship to Indiana, so I can't get anything from them.
Well, I've got another contact there who's in BRTC, and he's an Indiana guy, and I ship him Prideful Goat and Iron Root Harbinger with some regularity. Now, he did tell me that Iron Root is showing up on shelves there in a few places. So now it's not going to be their special releases. It's going to be like their Harbinger, or maybe the Hubris or Promethean. But if there's something that's a regular shelfer here that I can easily get for you, I'm happy to help people out. I mean, that's why we're here in the first place. So
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, just reach out to me.
That's really good enough.
Yeah, just reach out to me. I'm happy to.
Did y'all see my post about the unopened bottles?
Yes.
how did that
I did.
how did that come across?
I agreed with it. I thought that, it made sense. That was the whole reason you put the rule in place in the first place, was to decrease some of the flex posts.
Yeah, but I had a guy reach out to me and he's like, "Have you seen these?" And he sent me a couple screen grabs of people that like just got home with their bottle. It's like, bro, we've already cut out all the crotch shots, right?
Yeah.
Like if you post a crotch shot from your car, we tell you, hey, take that bottle home, take a nice photo, repost, right? And then he started with like, well, all it is flex post and BRTC, and it didn't used to be like this. And I came here for community. I didn't come here to be flexed on. And I'm like, how do I make this person happy?
Well,
and not piss off all of these other people. And so I came up with an idea of like, maybe I can, I don't know if it landed right.
Well, it's like my parents used to tell me, you can make some of the people happy some of the time, but you can't make all people happy all the time. So it is what it is. I completely understand why the rule is in place. And I don't know that I've ever been guilty of posting 3 or more allocated bottles in one shot unopened. I've had some pretty epic hauls. But for somebody to post, a whole bunch of Wellers, like a 107s and 12s and single barrels and stuff, that's a flex post. I'm sorry, whether you're excited or not. Me personally, in the stage where I am now, I'm not new. I'm not going to post up all those bottles at once. I'll post a couple of them. I try to follow the rules, and I do not discount the excitement portion of it. But your average person who is new to bourbon and is here to learn and partake in this community is not going to run out and buy all those allocated bottles. They're still searching for what their palate is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the way I look at it. That, I don't know.
To
me, there always have been flex posts, and they always will be.
Yeah, I agree. I think it, double-edged sword. It's kind of like, a lot of things drop at the same time. So sometimes you do get multiples. In Ohio here, we get a ton of Wellers. So I see it both ways. I agree, not the flex, but, sometimes it's hard when you're excited and you see things and you don't think, everybody's brain goes to, I just want to post this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't want to ignore the guy's concern. I just thought maybe if we put some information out there about like, can these two sides, can you all understand each other, and maybe let's make some small adjustments out of courtesy and, for the mission overall. And then I figured it wouldn't hurt if I gave away some Saz 18 and Blanton's Gold and Weller 12.
Well, thanks to you, I only have a few more pours that I need to try before I've completed the BTAC.
Yes. Somebody asked me today, they were like, hey, have you had 13th Colony Double Oak? And I was like, do you not watch the podcast? Never mind. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I've had it. And he goes, you've probably had everything. And I started to write like, there's a few that elude me. And I was like, oh, that sounds like something a douchebag would say. And so I was like, nah, I just got lucky on that one. Don't waste your bottle on me.
What's on your list that you haven't had?
They're stupid. Like it's stupid. Like I'll never find these bottles, but
single barrel.
Red Wax Pappy. I've held one. That one I've actually seen. I held a Red Wax Pappy at Bardstown Bourbon Company. And for those of you who don't know, Maker's Mark has a patent on red dripping wax on whiskey bottles, and they sue everybody who comes even close, just to protect that trademark and that design idea. And years ago,
Bourbon.
Van Winkle's put red wax on one of their bottles and sent it to distro. Maker's Mark sued, and they had to pull all the bottles. So not only is it like vintage Pappy, which makes it rare, but they had to destroy most of what they originally made. And so they just don't exist. So to find one of those is like, I don't know, like finding a unicorn with two different colors.
Well,
or something.
I have a friend of mine that bought one as an investment. It's not a red wax. It's a 2008 Pappy 23, which is pre-Buffalo Trace juice.
Right. Yeah.
And
Stitzel.
he paid $12.50 for it when he bought it, $1,250. And he was stating that it on like unicorn auctions and secondary, it's like $9,000 and $10,000 for that bottle.
Yeah, like that's a no-brainer. The other one that I like when somebody says like, "What's the one thing you wish you could try?" I want to try Linnell's Red Hook Rye.
Yeah.
And the last time I looked, those were selling for like 20,000 a bottle.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was funny because I think I've told y'all before about the two wealthy guys that came to my house and they donated the OWA, and then the guy that donated it won the raffle and he got his bottle back, and we ended up making $3,000, and they took me to their restaurant with Lindsay and like fed us this epic meal and all that stuff. Have I told you all that?
No.
Yeah. So two guys come to a bottle share and or pick up with pours, and you know how like there are people that walk in and they just stare at the wall and they go catatonic, right? Like they can't even speak. They're just staring at all the bottles, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" And they're like, "It's just so much. Like I don't know where to start." And I'm like, "Don't get paralysis by analysis. Just see something, taste it, small amount, move on." Right? Like you got plenty of time. Try a bunch of stuff. And these two guys came in and they didn't care about the wall at all. They were watching the other people, and they were watching the experience that the other people were having, and they were watching me interact with people, right? And they're watching me get my expensive bottles off the top shelf and pour for people. And they called me over and they're like, this is a really cool event. And every so often I'll meet somebody that I can tell like they don't care about the whiskey, because you can tell they have it all, right? And I knew just by their demeanor that that's what these guys were. And so he said, "How can we help you?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing a fundraiser right now for kids that are in the hospital getting cancer treatment." And it was when we were doing that Music Meets Medicine fundraiser. And I was like, it's loosely associated with kids and, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole back history. And the guy goes, "Well, can we donate a bottle?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "What do you need?" And I said, "You know what I need. Don't make me ask for it. Like, you know what raises money." And he's like, "No, really, like, what do you need?" And I said, I need a Van Winkle or a BTAC. I was like, I've got Weller full proofs. I've got Weller 12s. I've got Blanton's. I've got, all of that level bottle. I don't have any big unicorn bottles. And he goes, "What about Old Rip?" And I was like, "Yeah, Old Rip would work." And, but I kind of blew it off and I didn't hear anything from him. About 2 weeks later, the guy reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, we want to give you that Old Rip, and we want to host you and your wife and Wes and his wife if she wants to come." And he says, "We have a really nice bottle share room. It's at my buddy's office. And then my restaurant's around the corner. Do y'all eat steak?" And I was like, "Yeah, me and my wife, it's like, that's our jam. We love eating steak." And he's like, "Okay, we'll take care of everything. You just come." So we show up, and this place is epic. It's a commercial building. This guy's a commercial real estate developer. So he built this building to rent out all of the first floor, but he put his personal private office. It's the only thing that's on the second floor, and it's all glass. There's a baby grand piano. There's like 2 separate offices, a conference room, a small kitchen, a private bath. Like it's nuts. This place is like completely tricked out. So we walk in and there's like all the BTACs are on the table and open, and Old Forester birthday bourbon and, Four Roses limited edition. They're all just sitting out on the table. And then there's a whole wall with one of those rolling ladders on it that's on the backside that's got everything you could think of. And he asked Lindsay, he says, "What kind of whiskey do you like?" And she's like, "I'm a rye girl." And he goes, "Okay, hold on." And he rolls the ladder over and he clambers up the ladder and he opens up this cabinet and he pulls out a Booker's rye.
That's rare.
He climbs back down and he puts it down in front of Lindsay and he's like, "You're drinking this tonight." And Lindsay looks at me and like she can see like I'm vibrating, right? Like I'm like a dog that I know you got a treat in your hand, you know, and I'm like trying to keep my cool, but I just can't. I'm like, and Lindsay's like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Hey, you will never see this again. This is the only time you ever taste this whiskey. And it's the best rye whiskey I've ever tasted." And she's like,
You've
"Really?"
said that to me before.
And I've picked it in a blind over Thomas Handy twice. Like I love Booker's rye. And it's just so big and robust and complex, but balanced. It's so good. And so she's, sipping on some of that. And I was like, "Don't take a lot, just, taste it." And then they take us over this restaurant and it's like this really unassuming Italian restaurant that's like a steakhouse and they do seafood. But it's like super high end cuisine. So they had like flown in like fresh Alaskan crab legs and they had brought in like special Wagyu beef fillets and they serve it on one of those hot stones and you cut a raw piece of steak and you cook each piece individually to your own liking and all that. It was like the super great experience. But when I was talking to them, he started asking me questions and I thought this might be my chance, right? Because he's like, "What have you never had that you've always wanted to try?" And I was like, "Linnell's Red Hook Rye." And he's like, "I've never even heard of that." And I was like, "Look it up." Like it helped put Willet on the map. Like it's epic. There's only a few bottles probably left in the world that are in circulation. I was like, Linnell herself had some bottles that she had held back. And when she sold her liquor store and moved to a different location in a different area of the country, and she needed money to finish out her new liquor store, she funded it by selling the rest of these bottles. Like, that's how big of a deal this is. And he's like, "I'll have to look for that." And I was like, "So you're saying there's a chance?" Like, maybe I will get to try Linnell's Red Hook Rye. But no, I've never tried that. I don't think I've ever had a Michter Celebration.
I read a little bit about that one recently, and it's supposed to be good, but man, it's pricey.
And I don't think I've had a 25, Michter 25.
They're releasing that this year.
I've had a bunch of 20s, and they're all good.
They were on Bourbon Pursuit podcast and said they wouldn't officially say it, but that they think 24 they're going to have a Michter's 25 come out in 24. That's
epic.
And that celebration, you can get a 1 ounce pour of it at the River House. It's either River House or River Boat, whatever the restaurant that John Veronese owns there in Louisville. It's $1,100 for a 1 ounce pour.
Yeah, and I'm not
doing that.
That's a bit steep.
I don't play at that level. You know what I'm saying? Like, no.
They told me in Michter's that's actually cheaper than it is in their bar, because in their bar it's $1,200.
Yeah, so maybe if Prideful Goat goes nationwide and we sell it for hundreds of millions of dollars, I'll have
There
that
you go.
company. But
The Penelope story there, yeah.
Yeah, but and unless that happens, $1,100 is a little bit much for 1 ounce.
If you get $140 million, you might just buy a bottle of it.
Right? Yeah, I have paid $140 for a pour of whiskey before, but that's my record.
What was it?
It was Van Winkle Family Reserve Rye. I'd never tried it before. I didn't like it. It was too oaky for me. But yeah, it was funny because I'd met this guy at the gym and he was pretty well off. He's like an insurance broker. So he issues insurance to like on large commercial construction projects, and he owned the firm and he made good money. And we met at the gym, and me and my gym buddy we'd gone for drinks at Whiskey Cake. James knows what that is. They got whiskey cakes down in Houston. And we're at Whiskey Cake. And he messaged, he's like, what are y'all doing? I said, oh, we're having some drinks. And he goes, oh, I'm going to pass by there. I'll stop by. So he comes in and the bartender's like, what do you get? And of course, me and my buddy are both drinking straight whiskeys, right? And the bartender's like, what do you get? And he's like, oh, I have a vodka soda with lime. And the bartender's like, okay. So he brings him his drink. And then it came time to leave. And he was like, I'll get it. And I was like, no, you won't. And he's
You
like,
don't want that tab.
he's like, no, I don't mind. And I go, you had a vodka soda. That last pour, just that one, was $140. Like, this is the first time we hung out. Like, I cannot let you pick up my tab when you had a $9 vodka soda and I had a $140 pour plus some other stuff. Like, no. Like, next time we go out, you can get drinks and I'll order normal stuff. But that was my experience with my Pappy 13. And the most expensive bottle I ever bought was that Eagle Rare 17. It was 1900.
Well, I had a pretty special event recently. I'm a consultant, so I travel all the time. Got a gajillion Marriott points, and Marriott does a thing called Marriott Moments. And this year they did a Buffalo Trace Marriott Moments, and I bid on it and was one of 9 winners to do a special VIP tour at Buffalo Trace. Got to do a really cool tasting with their master distiller, and the big surprise was they allowed us to buy a double Eagle Rare. And so I was able to bring one of those home. So
no,
you guys come in. Yeah.
Oh,
Right
okay,
here.
you got to show it.
What the what?
Oh my gosh.
That's so cool. I'm so
That's
jealous.
awesome.
Flex away.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
Dude,
you guys come next
and it's
spring for the
open.
Houston. Come next spring for a big party, or next fall for the Houston Whiskey Social, and we'll drink some of this. I've already popped it open. We've already done one tasting with some friends, and put it up against the Eagle Rare 17. Randy, it's interesting. The unanimous vote was the nose on the 17 was better, but the palate of the double Eagle Rare was better. So
I'd be interested to do. That's another. I've not tried the double Eagle Very Rare. That's one I haven't tried.
Well, there you go. You got to come down to Houston and give it a shot.
Yeah, I have. I need to see what my. I need to see what my bottles are on Bourbon Heads. I think I have OFC and Pappy 23. I think I passed because I got to pick before everyone else.
Yeah.
I think I passed on that one because I knew I hadn't tasted it.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked bottles that I'd actually tasted. But yeah, that one's interesting. So Carlos de Alcoa, that owns the Gulf Coast Distillery, my business partner in the Prideful Goat, when I was in Mexico, he sends me a picture of Mark Brown, the retired CEO of Sazerac. And he was on a private tour at Sazerac that was led by Mark Brown. And I'm in Mexico walking around, and he sends me this picture. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how are you taking this photo? And he's like, oh, I'm on a private tour at Sazerac. And I'm like, billionaires, they get to do all the cool stuff, right? And then he sends me a picture. Have y'all seen that Eagle Rare's releasing a 25-year this year?
Yes.
Yes, saw that.
Yeah, they cracked one, and they all got to try it. And I'm like, bro, you have my number. Call me, okay? Call me. When you're going to this stuff, just let me know. One time he did call me. He was going to International Stave Company to negotiate a bulk barrel purchase because there was a barrel shortage and he needed them for his new column still. And he was like, hey, I'm going to tour a barrel cooperage. I wanted to see if you wanted to come. And I was like, yeah. And he said, by the way, I've identified the most baller sentence in the English language. Okay. if you can ever legitimately utter these words and it means what it says, you are automatically on the next level. And the sentence that he said after I said I wanted to go was, "What is the closest airport to your house?" Because he was bringing the plane to me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty gangster, right? And I had to cancel because it happened to fall on the same day that I had a tasting at Total Wine for the Prideful Goat that the wholesaler fucked up. Total Wine did not advertise, and only 5 people showed up to, and
Oh
all
my
5
gosh.
were already followers of the brand, and all 5 had already been to my house and drank Prideful Goat with me in my whiskey room.
Oh my gosh.
And so by the end of the night, I was like, I was so mad. I could have been on a private jet doing a private tour at International Stave Company. But no. I was vacuum sealing pounds and pounds of charcuterie that there was nobody to eat. That's what I was doing.
Oh,
So maybe one day I'll get to fly the private jet and go to one of those cool things. But right now, I'm just trying to figure out a way to spread the word about the brand. All right, let's do some barrel pick updates. So the blend that we did for unallocated, we are in possession of the
hell yeah.
the oak cubes that we need to finish the barrel. We have not started the finishing because we know exactly how much time it takes to replicate that flavor. And we are not ready to bottle yet. And the reason why we're not ready to bottle is because we are still designing the label.
Yeah.
Y'all want to see the label?
I would love to see the label.
Okay, let me see.
What did you wind up naming it?
Well, it's still unallocated. So there was a whole debate about
Dominator.
oh no, it's in my
The Cruminator.
there was a whole debate about what the label has to say.
Right.
Because we're a little unsure of what the TTB regulations are when you're finishing with oak cubes. All right, let's see. All right, I think I've got this. Go here. I need to share my entire screen. Share. Nope, click that, then share. There we go. There it is. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the idea was we were always going to use the stag, but we were going to change his clothes based on what was in the bottle. So since this is kind of like a laboratory experiment, we decided to put it in a lab coat. This is rendition 2. Before, like right here in this section, like he was higher up, and there was like this big green blob that was the color of this mountain in front of him, and I was like, he looks like a centaur or like he's riding a horse. Like, can you fix that? And so they came back with this, and then the debate was whether or not he should be holding a beaker, which is, you know,
or a bottle, yeah.
Or a bottle, but we kind of blended it in the beaker. So
yeah, oh no, literally.
Yeah. So
Can you tell them what the blend was?
I could if I remembered.
Well, you and me both.
Yeah.
And I was there. So
I think it was 2 parts Chardonnay.
Well, it was a 1-1-2. 1-1/2. I'm sorry.
Right. 2 parts Chardonnay, 2 parts. Hold on. Let me see what's down here. See if it'll jog my memory. All right. There was no port.
No, the port was out. I remember that.
Was the honey the half part or the tobacco?
The tobacco was the half.
All right, so it's 2 parts shard, 2 parts honey, half parts, or no, 1 part.
1 part, yeah.
Tobacco. Yeah. So it was 2-2-1.
Yeah.
5 parts total. And it is phenomenal.
It was so good.
All right, so I need to go over here and I need to stop sharing. Boom, there we go. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for that to come out, but we are still waiting for our final label so that we can submit to TTB.
Sure.
And we had to go to Kenny and Ryan at Bourbon Pursuit to ask them how they've done their formula approval request with the TTB, because they've used these cubes before. And they ended up they went to a class that was put on by Bardstown Bourbon Company that taught them how to do it, because that's who their bottler was. And they sent us the video for the class, but there was no sound.
Oh.
And so you had to like read all the words on the screen. But we got that over to Robert, and he said that he had enough to get the formula approval.
Are you still planning on 100% seal box for distribution?
I don't know that we'll do 100%. Because
I'd like to go to the distillery if I could and pick up a case or two.
Yeah, I mean, we make a lot more money at the distillery, and then there's those members that Soapbox doesn't ship to.
Right.
And so we may do something for those members that's similar to what I've been doing with the excess Someone Said Whiskey single barrels that I picked. So we'll see. Where we let them pay me, and then I pick it up and somebody ships it to them. Which the Scotch did okay. There were a handful of people that wanted to try the Scotch, because it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on with single barrels. I may offer another single barrel that was like excess from one of the picks that I'd done for Someone Say Whiskey soon. The Old Soul that we released, I went in to pick up a couple of more out-of-towner bottles today. And there's only like 15 bottles left at that store, which is pretty phenomenal. So
it's a good bottle.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to get offered to BRTP as a whole, because there's just not enough of it. And then I think our next, I haven't decided if I'm going to do any more bottles that we have some excess of. And then our next distillery takeover will probably be Watershed.
Oh, wow.
Coming to Ohio.
Yeah. So I got to start reaching out to them to plan that. I think I'm going to do it in January. And then I've been talking with Pursuit United about doing a single barrel at their new location on Whiskey Row in Louisville. And they seemed pretty eager. I just thought it'd be like, I'm going to be honest, like Kenny and Ryan are the OGs to me. They're the first.
Oh, nice, Todd.
Whiskey education.
I'm in their Patreon, so I did the one of the pilots. It really is fantastic, and I don't know if you talked to them much, Randy, but they're saying that one of the things they can do is like you can literally bottle your barrel that day.
Wow,
that'd be dope.
And take it with you, or however you work with it, however you want to, whatever works best with you. Obviously, being Texas, it'd probably be it wouldn't be the easiest way to do it, but if that's one of the things they're offering is like pick your barrel that morning, go to lunch, come back, bottle your barrel that day.
Nice.
That's pretty dope. So I didn't go, but Someone Say Whiskey was there picking a Blanton's. I don't know if that, I don't think that's public information.
It's not.
But we picked a Blanton's. And while we were there, Kenny and Ryan set up to have some of our crew like go to their new location pre-launch and do kind of a private tour and taste some stuff. and it went really, really well. And Baptista messaged me and he's like, Someone Said Whiskey is definitely going to do a single barrel with them because the experience of picking here is going to be so epic. And I was like, well, then BRTC needs to do it too. And so I think we're going to try and schedule that. I happen to be going to Kentucky at the end of February. And so that's part of the reason why I want to do Watershed in January, is so that we get a little, a 45, 50-day break between two potential trips, so that people, could potentially do both at once too, so they're not on top of one another. So I'm going to start working on that soon. So those will be some of our upcoming barrel picks. And then, annually we can do whatever we want with Unallocated and Prideful Goat. But I don't want everybody to feel like they have to come to Texas to really get a good, experience with Patron, so that's why I want to get it spread out and maybe do something in Kentucky and something in Ohio and, move around. I've talked with Frey Ranch about doing a distillery takeover in Nevada, which would be fun because we could all stay at the same casino and, drive out to go do our pick and then just engage in absolute debauchery at the casino. Everybody can be gambling and drinking and eating good food. And in all fairness, the food's not that great in Reno compared to Las Vegas, but it'd still be a good time. But yeah, that's what's kind of going on with barrel picks. Merch updates. We have new stickers.
I just saw that. I saw your Instagram post.
Oh, did she post it already?
Yep.
Yeah. So Colorado Bourbon Guys, bonded in bourbon, made the sticker list. And so
I have the shirt. Love it.
So there's stickers for that. And then
nice.
It didn't win the competition, but there's no such thing as an empty bottle. It's either full of whiskey or full of memories. That sticker got printed. There's a bunch of them. And they're all little. They're going to be cheap. So that's coming out. And then, did anybody get any of the advent calendars that Alex Baptista does that's got the 25 whiskey samples?
We did.
I did.
Yeah. So that box, we're going to start selling that to the public for you to make your own advent calendars.
Perfect.
And so those boxes are supposed to be in 4 days. So I think we're going to pre-launch those. I'm worried about it because we bought hundreds of them thinking that they would sell out for people wanting to make advent calendar boxes. And the box company completely screwed the pooch. And now we're not really getting them in time for Christmas this year. So we're going to offer them, but I understand that people may want to wait until next year, which means they got to store hundreds of boxes.
Well, I'm sending out 2 that are not in boxes, so I will definitely buy a few for next year because I like to hand them out to some family members and whatnot.
Yeah.
I pour them up and I give them a little key, and without having to spend a ton of money, I can do that. So I would be interested in buying a couple of boxes for sure.
Well, and we launched the customization on the boxes, and I'm a little surprised that more people have not taken advantage of it, but I guess it seems expensive to them. But I wanted to show y'all. This is one of the boxes that we did. It's absolutely nuts, in my opinion. It's so cool.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
That's like the whole headdress setup and everything.
Yeah.
That's
somebody's logo. And so they just went to the website, they bought a box, they uploaded the logo. My son came to me and he was like, this laser job is 3 hours and 22 minutes. And I was like, well, be glad he didn't buy 10.
See?
The glass is half full.
Overlining.
Oh, what do you got there, James? There you go.
Ah,
I bought this off your site, Randy.
yes.
Hey, Randy,
This
you
is
want
a
me to grab my
36 sample
Someone's a Whiskey
box I'm
to
sending
show?
out for Christmas.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, we found out that people were buying the 36 boxes and trying to use them to do advent calendars. And we're like, well, let's just make a box with 25, you know?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Well, see, I like the 25 box because it has a spot for the Wii glasses on the side.
Interesting.
Let me run and grab it so I can show you.
All right. So that is merch. So we got the boxes coming. The 6 bottle bags are going to be here any day. They'll definitely be here in time to ship for Christmas. And I think everything else is currently in stock, although we had the glass carrying cases because the new glasses are a little tight inside the old carrying case.
Yeah.
And so we made a little bit taller. And so those are supposed to be here any day.
Oh,
Oh
sweet.
yeah,
So that's it with glasses.
that's
next to it.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really, and the Wii glasses, they're tight. They don't rattle around much in there.
We designed it for that glass, but it fits.
Does it fit your glasses?
It fits a perfect ram.
Okay.
It fits. It fits the new shape of glass. It fits the old shape of glass, and it fits a Glencairn Wii. The Glencairn Wii rattles a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I've put in your old BRT Glencairns in there. I don't have enough of the new design to put in it, but I absolutely love this box. So
Yeah, so we have hundreds of those coming. And I think that's it for merch updates. Events, we already talked a little bit about events. We don't really have anything on the books. And then I was going to update y'all on the oxidation study.
yeah,
So Jesse, the master blender from Doc Swinson's, got pretty excited about the project. And he's been talking with the industry people that he knows, and he knows everyone. And he found some experts on the subject that have a mass spectrometer. And so we're going to be sending samples to his people for them to run mass spec on the different samples that have been, treated with different environments that are supposed to damage the whiskey. We're going to try and identify what the chemical changes were that took place in the different environments. So I was pretty excited about that. But yeah, has anybody had any bottles that surprised them lately that were better than you thought besides the Iron Root Amberana finish?
no, I'm drinking from a Good Times, and this is the first one I've ever had. And I said this early on tonight. I don't know if everybody heard it, but I got invited to some group that does a lot of Good Times picks. And this one happens to be an apple brandy and Amberana finished. And are all Good Times this good?
Yeah, they're just flavored whiskey. So it turns out if you're willing to just put whatever flavors in there taste good,
Yeah,
it's always tasty.
well, I know Lindsay likes their blackberry one.
It's
so.
not real whiskey.
No, this one supposedly it says distilled in Indiana.
Oh, no. It started off as MGP.
Okay.
One time.
Once upon a time, huh? Like I said, this is my first go around with this.
I know that Good Times is delicious. And at one point I looked up and we had like 13 of them. I've been giving them away because Lindsay stopped drinking them. They are tasty. But when you start to ask yourself, how would you apricot finish? Or that one is apple what?
It says apple brandy and Amberana.
Okay, those you could find barrels for.
And that's why I bought this one, because that one seemed legit to me.
None of them are legit. If you go look at, you can go to the cola website and look up to see how many cola approvals they have.
Okay.
They have like 6. but they literally have thousands of different SKUs. So I've been
Yeah.
told by people in the industry that TTB is about to shut their asses down because
Oh, wow.
they're characterizing their whiskey like, oh no, this is totally legit. We just took MGP and we finished it in a couple of barrels to add apricot and honey. And it's like, okay, well, I know how you would add honey in a honey barrel, but do you got a bunch of motherfuckers that are aging apricots in barrels?
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to look that one up then.
Chris,
For
you know what
sure.
this means?
I mean,
This means that your apple pie is going to be like the Pappy Wax Dip in 25
Right.
years.
yeah, you've had it. That's right. See?
Only if it's unopened.
Right.
It's open.
So my joke about Good Times is that I had so many bottles and I was like, I gotta get rid of this shit. Nobody drinks it when they come over except for like Jen Britton's wife loves Good Times. She'll drink it, but they don't come over very often. They got a baby now, right? Lindsay's not drinking it. And I'm like, it's pretty sweet. And so I started drinking it on ice one day, like a cocktail, and let it water down a little bit. It was like Tuesday. I woke up drunk, bro. I was drunker than Cooter Brown and didn't realize it because
Well-
you think it tastes like you're just drinking a cocktail. It's still straight whiskey. It's just got so much sweetener and flavor in it.
Yeah.
That
Well, I decided to pull the trigger on this one because it's finished in Amberana, supposedly. It has an Amberana taste, and I have been buying everything I can find that's Amberana finished because I love it.
yeah, I would say that most of their flavors are pretty on point except for cherry.
Okay.
They're whatever they're doing to add cherry flavor, which again, like when who the hell is aging cherries in a barrel so that you can
Right. That one doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
right, but their cherry is so cherry cough syrup that it's like jarring when you taste it. And some people still love it, but for me, I'm just like, bro, you put some flavorings in here. Like this is not a barrel did not do this. And I'm willing to fight over that. I'm pretty confident that I'm right on that. Since you're not getting barrels that you're aging cherries. Todd, you were holding up something. What were you showing us?
Yeah, actually, a couple things here. Copper and Kings in Louisville came out with a bourbon, and it's finished in apple brandy barrels. I don't know how widely available it is. I did not expect to like this bottle, and
I've never seen it here in Texas.
Like I said, I don't know how widely available it is, but it's really good.
Yeah.
And not crazy price. And by the way, Chris, I've got a bottle of Starlight Amberana bourbon whiskey finished in Brazilian Amberana barrels that I would gladly trade you for an iron.
I would love to, but I have that bottle
You got it?
from
Okay,
my
that's
Indiana
fine.
connection.
I would not,
A guy
super
named
impressed.
Brandon Payne, who's in BRTC, lives right down the road from the distillery.
Yeah, I live about 45 minutes away.
So I managed to get one from him last year, and that bottle right there is what turned me on to Amberana finish whiskeys.
Really? Yeah, this was the seal box pick, but yeah, because I could never find it at the distillery, so I bought it from seal box.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal bottle. That Starlight, that good stuff. What do you got there?
My two favorite flavored whiskeys picked up in the height of COVID from Glacier Distilling right outside the park in Montana. The first one is their Fireweed, which is they do a cherry branded liqueur that they age their whiskey in after the fact. You cannot get this except at the distillery. I'm so mad I only got one bottle because that's all they would sell you. You could only buy one bottle or two bottles per day from the distillery, Montana laws. Fortunately, we stayed the night there and I went back in the morning. And then the second one, which you can see has got very little left in it.
Huckleberry.
Huckleberry. Montana, everything's huckleberry up in Montana.
Yep.
Ice cream, socks. You want something Huckleberry,
Happy.
you can get it in Montana. This is, I mean, for flavored whiskey, hands
Bear
down.
proof?
It's called Bear Proof.
Nice.
I've been looking for somebody to get me a
Wow.
bottle of it again, so I don't have to go all the way back to Coram, Montana to get a bottle.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at flavored whiskey. I just want you to be honest with me.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, like,
Be up
yeah,
front.
just tell me what you did to it. You know,
If
if you got a real sweet wife and she goes and dips her finger in it, that's a special ingredient. Tell me, right? Like, that's fine. Don't tell me like, oh no, this is just finished in barrels. It's like in cherry barrels, apricot barrels. You got apricot barrels? Like, what are you talking about? You know?
The apricot trees, maybe they made the barrel out of an apricot tree.
So
Yeah, I don't.
I think they're apricot brandy, right? That's what they're doing.
Randy, I sent you a bottle. I sent you a sample from Palisade or Peach Street Distillers. It was not their. They do a peach infused bourbon or peach infused whiskey rather, but I did not send you that one. But I sent you a Peach Street. I think when I saw you in Houston, actually, I gave it to you, and you asked me the question. There's no. I think you said there's no way this is their distillate because it tastes like blah blah blah. I don't remember which distillery you said, so I ran it down for you.
The ones I can identify are NGP and PDG.
Yeah, but they do a peach brandy, and I was actually at the distillery about 3 months ago. I'd never had brandy in my life before. I personally, I do not love brandy at all. I learned it's disgusting for me.
Yeah.
But they do. They do a peach whiskey that they age in their peach brandy barrels for some period of time after the fact. And Palisade peaches are famous in Colorado for sure.
interesting.
Yeah, I do love brandy. I love
Really?
cognac. I love Armagnac.
Okay.
A lot of people say that Scotch is the grandfather of whiskey.
Armagnac, isn't it?
But the truth is that cognac is actually the father of bourbon.
Okay.
Because of the Tarascon brothers. So there were these two brothers that immigrated to the U.S. from the Cognac region. They were the Tarascon brothers, and they were operating on an island in the Mississippi, just off the coast of Kentucky. And they were buying Kentucky distillate from what at the time was Bourbon County, which is now shifted. And they were shipping it down the Mississippi River on barges to New Orleans for consumption. And during the voyage, it got exposure to oak because they were putting the new make whiskey that they were buying into oak barrels. And that's how the tradition of aging bourbon got started. The Elijah Craig story is a lie.
Oh, wow.
And so it's really terrible. And so when you start doing research on it, it's like, wait a minute, cognac is the father of bourbon, right? Not a whiskey, but cognac, because they were already storing cognac in casks in that region of France. And so those brothers brought that tradition here. Is very convenient for shipping, to put whiskey in a barrel. And when whiskey would get to New Orleans, it had been on a barge, it had been rocking, it experienced major temperature changes, and it wasn't like, modern commercial transportation down the river. It was just a barge, so it took some time. And so by the time it got down there, the whiskey had extracted some color and flavor from the barrel. And that's what kind of created the tradition of aging bourbon in a barrel. And so brandy, cognac specifically, is more the father of bourbon than Scotch is.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I get it, when you go into a new category of spirits. But I mean, there's all different levels of brandy. right? So you've got rot gut brandy, and then all the way up to world class, uh, hundreds of years worth of distilling experience goes into this bottle type brandies too. So I've not had Louis Trey, but when I was in Houston, one of the people I was hanging out with bought a vintage bottle of Louis Trey from the 80s, and he offered to let me try it next time I come over to his house. So I'll be pretty excited to try that.
Very cool.
All right. Well, we've been on for almost 2 hours. Anybody got any questions before we get off?
When will you have a date for the Ohio watershed?
You know what? Let me make a reminder on my calendar to start reaching out to Amy, because I don't want it to slip away.
I will say, for those of y'all who are on it, when the unallocated blend that we did as a BRTP group, don't pass it up. It was a phenomenal blend. Not because I happened to be on the team that picked it, but because I know the folks that tried it blind have phenomenal palates, and it was a unanimous win. So don't sleep on it.
No, it's a good one.
What's your commission on it, Chris?
I'm sorry?
I say, are you getting a commission on that bottle?
No, I'm not. I'm buying as much as I can, because I'll be gifting a few of them for sure, but I want to keep that one around till the day I die.
Yeah, I have a little bit of the blend from the day left. I probably have, I don't know, 3/4 of an ounce, maybe 1 ounce left. It's pretty. I'm excited.
It's good.
We also bought the cubes to do a Chardonnay only barrel. So for those of you who got to taste the base spirits that they were blending, the Chardonnay was everybody's favorite for the most part. And
yeah, as a standalone, it was great.
I was kind of hopeful that some group was going to be like, screw it, we can't beat this. Like, let's just do 100% Chardonnay in our blind. But no one did it. But at the end of the day, Baptista and I were like, we got to do a Chardonnay, right? And he's like, oh yeah. So we went ahead and bought the cubes that we need to do the Chardonnay barrel. And whatever work we do with the TTB for the formula and the label should cover us on the Chardonnay too. So we'll be releasing those sometime, probably next year. But we got to get our label approved, and then we got to get in production for printing. And we just approved the design of the label, I think, today. So now we have to submit it to the TTB. So we're probably a couple weeks away. And I don't know how quick Robert's going to be at the formula approval, because they're so busy in the environment. But we can't put the labels in production until the TTB approves the formula and the cola. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much it. Anything else before we hop off?
I just have a quick question for James. What are the bottles on your left-hand shoulder? Yep.
Right here.
Yep.
Bottom.
All those are all the same.
So we have several. They're Willett family estate, various years. Most of them are 9-year Willett family estate purple tops. So I've got a couple friends that are really into those, have a big collection. So I want to be cool like them. So I started getting some of those as well. I've been fortunate enough to find some, and many of them I got through a club that I'm in called Bourbon Heads. I get access to things like that can't always find here in Houston, but through that club and a lot of generosity, I'm able to grab some of these.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I couldn't place the label, so I wanted to know.
Yeah. Now that you said it, I can see it.
I can see it.
Yeah, now I can see it. I just had the green top, but I can see it now.
I got my first purple top last year, James.
Wow.
I'm a big proof fan, so I like really high proofs. So several of those are hazmats. I have several that are above 140. I've got one that's a 151. That's a really, really high proof one. That's pretty special to me. So
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, he's a proof hound too. Don't let him kid you.
Mhm.
Higher the proof, the more he likes it.
That's awesome.
I almost pulled the trigger on a purple top in Dallas, a little shop not too far from Love Field, actually. And the guy I was so close, but I couldn't do it.
Mm. Well, even SRP are still pretty expensive.
Yeah.
420 right now.
Yeah.
In hindsight, the $600 he wanted probably wasn't a bad deal.
No.
So I don't really know as much as some of my friends do, but they have different barrel series, so each one's different. And so I've had people that say I don't like purple tops, but the different series of the barrels are very different, and so they have, I don't know, 6 or 8 different mash bills with different entry proofs. So there's a lot of variety across purple tops, and so this set represents, I don't know, 4 or 5 different series, and that's just a small sample of what they offer. If you ever get a chance in Bardstown, go to Willett. Their upstairs bar, there's an entire wall of these that you can choose from, and it's just a phenomenal experience.
Love Willett.
That's one of our favorite distilleries we've gone to is Willett.
Yeah.
I like any distillery.
And James, your Four Roses single barrel that is probably just to your left. That single where you had this all of the recipes. Since I've been to your place in Houston, I've managed to find 4 of the 7, or 4 of the recipes myself on my own. So
Yeah.
I aspire to have all of the recipes on my in my bar as well.
Well, with the Houston Whiskey Social last year, that they did the Friday night, the all 10 recipe tasting. And that's where we sort of got turned on to that. And
Nice.
it became a mission over the year to find those. Yeah.
I also did the glasses for that.
While you're working on that, you need to get you one of those.
There you go. There you go.
I have not seen that out in the wild.
I'm telling you, most of the online folks have them for just about what they're charging for them. They're pretty plentiful out there, so definitely get you one.
Nice.
I actually got a couple of them.
Nice.
Yeah, I
If you
haven't seen
can't
any
find
here
one,
locally
get
for sure.
with me. I'll get you one. They're all over the place here.
I managed to find Chris a bottle. I don't remember what recipe it was.
I don't remember. Yeah, it was one I didn't have. I'm at 4 now as well. So
I don't want to start counting because I'll get obsessive and spend a stupid amount of money trying to get all 10. So
Yeah,
I'll
the
buy
125 for the 125 for the sample is a lot better than trying to buy all of the.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. I agree.
The other thing is like I've had recipes that tasted off profile based on like what the profile is supposed to be for that recipe. And so my perception is like, even if you collected all 10, a couple of them might be off profile for that recipe. And so you're not really learning the thing that you're trying to learn of like, how to identify what the characteristics are of the different recipes, because this one happened to be off. Right. And so that is at least what I tell myself to keep myself from going nuts and trying to collect all 10. But I've never met a Four Roses I didn't enjoy. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, I had the crew that set up the Four Roses tasting last year, and I made them wash all the glasses after y'all were done before I'd let them leave for the evening, so that we came in the morning and that all the glasses were done. But yeah, this year we got all new glasses for the general admission people. And I'd washed so many glasses at the end of the night last year that we had more than enough clean glasses to feed all of the tastings. And so I didn't have to do any glass washing duty this year. So that was nice. I was able to just deal with the drunkies, so. All right, guys, I've got to get working on my turkey. For those of you who don't know, turkey cooking instructions are alive from the pit of hell. Satan has tried to ruin the joy of Thanksgiving by convincing people to cook your turkey at 350 degrees. That is not how you cook a large piece of meat. For those of you who smoke, you know that that's not true.
No.
Actually, you're supposed to slow cook a large piece of meat. It keeps it moist, makes it tender. It's way better, which means I got to cook my turkey overnight. But you gotta roast it pretty hot at first to kill any pathogens that live on the outside of the turkey, and then you can slow cook it overnight. So that's what I have to go do.
So, question for you:
Yes.
dressing or stuffing?
I do not stuff the turkey, but it's partially because I'm not responsible for dressing this year. So I'm cooking the turkey, and I'm fresh cooking gluten-free macaroni. I make something I call au gratin Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
So it's the cheese sauce of au gratin potatoes, but it's Brussels sprouts. And then I'm going to make some mashed potatoes, and my mom's handling the dressing, and my dad's bringing the cranberries. So the cranberry sauce. But I have experimented, and I slow roast my turkeys at 220 overnight, upside down.
Yeah.
In the oven?
Just like a Cornish.
Yeah, upside down. The dark meat that's on the back and then the thighs, the fat renders out during the cook process.
Renders down into the breast.
And it self-bastes the breast while you're cooking it.
Yep.
And so I do not cook turkeys breast side up, and I do not cook turkeys at 350 like the instructions say, because if you know anything about cooking large pieces of meat, that is just entirely illogical. That is exactly how you produce a dry, tough piece of meat, which is why I hated turkey when I was a kid. And so when I slow roast my turkey and then I cut it up, everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is the best turkey I ever had. What'd you do?" And I'm like, "I cooked it at an appropriate temperature for the kind of meat it is." Like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not sure why the devil spread this lie and why society accepted it, but it's just untruth. And also cooking your turkey upside down just makes good sense. So, anyways,
I'm a low and slow and cornbread stuffing kind of person, so I get it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I don't know what kind of stuffing my mom's make. Well, she's making dressing, so I don't know what kind of dressing she's making, but I'm sure I'll be happy with it. So, I mean, I liked instant dressing when I was a poor college student, so I'm sure whatever
Stovetop
make is going to be delish. So anyways, all right. I love you guys. We're going to have to wrap this up so I can get my turkey in the oven.
All right.
If y'all need anything, shoot me a message. And
absolutely.
I'll
Happy
see you.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Bye.
Thanksgiving.